had sensed him, heard him, I don't know, but turned, and the officer saved his own life, right? Releases, falls to the ground, and again, what I understand is got on the radio and said gun, gun.
The coming minutes would be chaos as Secret Service agents rushed to protect the former president and current candidate. When it was all over, Trump had been rushed away. One member of the crowd was dead, and a man identified as the shooter had been taken down. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 210 points, the Nasdaq rose 74, the S&P 500 advanced 15. More at townhall.com.
You just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain? Don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free, it's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
What does it take for organizations to triumph? It takes the trust of people like you. And that's why an estimated 14 million givers look for the ECFA seal. Over 2,700 leading ministries across the U.S. display ECFA seal, demonstrating that they live up to biblical standards of financial accountability, responsible governance, and trust. So next time you donate, look for the ECFA seal, a widely recognized symbol of trust. Visit ecfa.org/trust to learn more.
Bible.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks tick to the edge of records as Wall Street's momentum keeps pushing it upward. The S&P 500 climbed 0.3%, but finished just shy of its all-time high set last week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.5% to its own record, while the Nasdaq Composite added 0.4% to just a bit short of its high. Some of the market's best-performing areas were ones that do best when former President Trump's chances for re-election look better. The Dow was up 210 points to close at 40,211. The Nasdaq gained 74 to 18,472. The S&P 500 added 15 points to 5631. New York oil fell 30 cents to $81.91 per barrel. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Well, we're not cooling down too much this evening. The low dips to 77. Tomorrow, more clouds and sunshine. 30% chance of an afternoon rain to go with a high temperature of 99. The heat index, again, 108. Rain chances higher the second half of the work week, but we do cool down some. By Friday, the high is in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Well, what a way to come back from vacation. I mean, some people come back from vacation, they just kind of ease their way into their job. You know, they might work a couple of hours when they come back from vacation because they're going to take it easy. But not here, not us, not on Sports Talk, diving right into the pile because we are in Dallas. We're at the Omni Hotel in downtown Dallas. We're here for SEC Media Days 2024. Day one in the books. 4 of 16 teams to come through today. South Carolina, one of the first in. LSU, then Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt this afternoon. Going to talk all about it, let you hear from the Gamecocks. We got a lot to do. Good to be back with you. Thanks to everybody that filled in and did their thing while I was gone for a couple of weeks. Of course, Mr. Bergen was gone on vacation for a while. Mr. Cohen was gone for vacation for a while. Thank goodness we can always call on Smitty out of the bullpen to come in and do his Mariano Rivera thing to save us when we need saving. But it's good to be back. I'm energized. I'm properly tanned. I don't think I'm well rested. I never get much rest on vacation. Sometimes I need a vacation from my vacation. So it is good to be back, though, and ready to go here with the football season. This officially really begins football season, Chris, as far as I'm concerned. It's not the games on August 31st or August 24th. It's today. Well, you had the Big 12 and you had the
oh, yeah. We had fun with the Big 12 last week.
Did the Big 10 have theirs already, or is that still to come?
I don't think they have. I think the Big 12 is up first.
Yeah.
Big 10 maybe next week as well.
Well, the ACC's next week. ACC's next week. But this, to me, signals the official start of football season. It's talking season. Everybody's undefeated. Everybody's optimistic. And, maybe most of those should be, maybe not Vanderbilt. I still can't see where Vanderbilt made much of an upward climb in the SEC. But I'll tell you this about the Gamecocks. They are optimistic. They are positive. They believe that they are the secret in the SEC this year. Those are my words, not theirs, but just from listening to Shane Beamer and the three players here today, they kind of feel like, you go ahead and sleep on us, okay? Go ahead and put us in 13th or 14th. I had to remind, Shane said some might vote him 16th. I had to remind him that Vanderbilt was still in the league, so they won't be 16th. But, ouch. But, I mean, seriously, Chris, these guys think they're going to be pretty good. They obviously know something that the rest of us may not know about the internal workings of this program and the players working out inside that practice facility and what they've been able to do this offseason.
Big Ten Media Days are next week, by the way. So just to get that clarified, start July the 23rd up in Indianapolis. But I thought Beamer was impressive today. I really did. I listened to him in all different phases. The interview he had with the South Carolina media, his big room answer a question session, and then also with the electronic media. And I thought some of the things he pointed out were pertinent and were interesting. He talked about how picking Carolina towards the bottom of the league is just a lazy narrative because they went 5-7 last year. I don't know if it's a lazy narrative. You've got to go out and prove it, especially with an unproven commodity at quarterback. But I think if you're a Gamecock fan, some of the things that he brought up were fascinating and good to hear. First off, that Rocket Sanders appears to be healthy and ready to go. He had shaved off what he said 6% of his body fat and lost a lot of weight. So he sounds like he's in tremendous shape. And keep in mind, this was a guy at Arkansas that was a really talented running back, and Carolina has not had a very good run game the last couple of years. He talked about how they've gotten much better at depth. And I think that may be the biggest, and that's the one that's hard to evaluate, Phil. They've gotten better at linebacker. I think no one can argue that. That may be their best position on the field. But they've got depth on both offensive and defensive lines. So how do you equate that? How does that translate into being a better football team? Well, you would think if you've got quality depth, then your starters don't have to play 70, 80 snaps, and that's what you want. And then, of course, it's all going to come down to what Lenoir Sellers and the offense can do. But I was impressed with some of the stuff he had to say today for sure. He was a bit defiant, which we've learned that Shane Beamer not afraid to talk directly to you and tell you we've got expectations at South Carolina to win and win big, and we're not ashamed of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And why shouldn't he say that? And look, they took a step back last year. That's why you've got people doubting them, because they took a step back last year, and their plan is to take a big step forward this year. He recognizes the difficulty of the schedule, but I mean, what difference does it make? You substitute a Georgia for an Alabama. You substitute a Tennessee for an Oklahoma. You substitute an Ole Miss for a Florida. I mean, except the big gap, I think, between Ole Miss and Florida right now. I think Ole Miss has got a chance to be really, really good.
I agree.
Now, we had an understated Lane Kiffin today for obvious reasons. He's still in mourning over the passing of his dad, Monty Kiffin, last week. So that's totally understandable. So he didn't come in here all fiery and braggadocious as he has been at times. But he's got a darn good football team, not just on paper. I mean, he's got a darn good football team on the field. He's got 20 starters returning. He's got maybe the best quarterback in the SEC, or right at the very top. He's got to replace a great running back, but he went to the portal, and one of the running backs he brought in was the former Gamecock Rashad Amos, who went for over 1,000 yards last year at Miami of Ohio. He's got Juice Wells coming in from South Carolina. So that's going to if Juice Wells has his soft tissue issue, that's hard to say, soft tissue issue with his lower leg figured out, whatever that problem is, he's able to get back to form. I mean, he's going to be a dangerous weapon for them. The deep ball will be in play. But the biggest thing about Ole Miss, where they improved the most, was defense last year. 2 years ago, they couldn't stop anybody. Last year, they held people down to about 22 points per game, which in this day and age, if you can do that, but score 36, they average 36 a game, they give up 22. That's why they won 11 games last year. So I think Ole Miss is going to be very, very dangerous. I think LSU, of course, is going to be very, very dangerous as well. They've got Garrett Nussmeier now taking over at quarterback for Jaden Daniels. Will there be a major drop-off there? There'll probably be some bit of a drop-off, but Brian Kelly does not believe there'll be a major drop-off at that position. He believes in Nussmeier and thinks he's got a quality quarterback ready to step in to replace the Heisman Trophy winner.
He seemed pretty high on him. I got to see a little bit of his comments on SEC Now, and he was on the panel with Nick Saban, who evidently knew his dad as an assistant coach at Alabama many, many years ago. And he talked about how Nussmeier was sort of a young kid running around. It is somewhat of a surprise for him to grow up and be a college football player. But, yeah, you're right. I think Brian Kelly feels like they may not have quite as talented a player at quarterback. Kind of hard to replicate that once again after what Jaden Daniels did last year, but it looks like they've got fill-in-the-blank situation with the quarterback at LSU. But I'm most impressed. I think you're right, Phil. I think Ole Miss is a team probably won't be picked to win the league, but will certainly, I think, be in the mix to get a playoff spot, and will give everybody a run for their money because I think they're going to be really good. Were you surprised, though, that Lane Kiffin showed up? I don't think anybody would have criticized him if he took the SEC media days off with the passing of his father last week and maybe sent one of the assistants. I was a little bit surprised that he actually came. Maybe it was cathartic for him. I'm not sure.
Probably so. And you know what he would say, too? His dad would say, be there.
Sure.
That sort of thing. His dad would say, be there, being an old football coach. So not surprised. Didn't really think whether or not he would show up. It's been several days. It was the end of last week, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if they've had the funeral, the memorial service, and all that yet. But not really surprised that he's here, considering he's a football guy. On top of all that, we had a commitment for the Gamecocks today. Donovan Darden, defensive end, linebacker out of Havelock, North Carolina, a place that's been good to South Carolina over the years. He commits to the Gamecocks. More on that to come. And the Major League Baseball draft continued today. We had more players from the state selected. We'll go over that with you as well. On top of all of that, I mean, I've had 2 weeks to consume everything that's been going on and no one to talk to about it. I mean, I can't have a conversation with my wife about sports. That's just not possible. And
she might enjoy that.
Well, she's a woman. I mean, what does she know about sports? There I go. See, I promised myself I wasn't going to
right there on the couch.
Be nasty.
When he gets back from Dallas.
Wasn't going to be nasty coming off vacation. You know I'm kidding about that, right?
No doubt.
I'm looking forward to the day. I really, women's sports. And by the way, one thing on my mind, the South Carolina women, just what a great showing for them at the ESPYs. I'm not an ESPY watcher because it just doesn't interest me, but it interests some people. And, I mean, they collected some major awards. What a recognition for the women's program at South Carolina, even going back to Asia Wilson winning an award as well. But to have the team honored and then to have Dawn Staley honored, I mean, they pretty much stole the show. Dawn Staley's speech was incredible.
I thought so, too.
And to me, most eye-popping was her comment about the fact that she wins more than any man. She didn't say it, South Carolina, but she basically said, I win more than any other coach here, and I'm not paid as much as the other coaches here, which I got to believe maybe rankled some people or at least raised some eyebrows over there at the Rice Athletics building at South Carolina, I would think. I thought that was an eye. But you know what? She's in a position, Chris, where she can make comments like that and know there'll be no repercussions as a result. it might result in more money coming her way.
Sure, absolutely. And she was the highest paid basketball coach at USC until Lamont got his new deal that put him past her. And part of that was they wanted to make sure that Lamont Paris wasn't scooped up by, say, Ohio State or somebody else. So I get that. But yeah, and you wonder too if she was passing that down not just directly at her, but sort of an overall we type situation, that women's pay equity is still not where it needs to be. And that's sort of somewhat what I took away from what she had to say, because I can't imagine she's going to go out there on national television and take a jab at her employers and what South Carolina has done for her and what she's done for South Carolina. It seems like a really good mutual partnership. And maybe it was more along the lines of, look, we all work hard. We all do the same job. We should all get paid similarly. And that may have been what she was hinting at on that, maybe more so than, hey, I should be paid more than Shane Beamer and Lamont Paris are.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I mean, in terms of production, nobody on that campus matches what she does, right?
No.
If you boil it down to production, not even close, no. But the flip of that is it goes back to revenue. And, despite the fact that they have the best women's basketball program in the country and they win all these games, they've 38 in a row and all that kind of stuff, they still lose money. They pale in comparison to what the men's basketball program makes and the football program makes, the revenue they generate. Now, do you factor that in as an AD, as a board of trustees, and deciding on terms of a contract? Or is it just based simply, if it was simply based on results, she'd be making $7 or $8 million. She'd be making as much as Dabo Sweeney makes, right? If it's simply based on results.
Yeah, probably more than Dabo. She's got more national championships than he has. So she make $10 million. You're right, but I think too you'll start seeing some of that at places like South Carolina to put a major emphasis on women's basketball in particular, but women's sports across the board. I think when the new TV contract comes in, you'll start seeing some of these schools that have a gap in terms of revenue versus what they spend. I think it'll close considerably because I think the new TV deal from ESPN is going to help out considerably. And I think part of that is too, Phil. You looked at the ESPYs, and I mentioned this to Smitty. I think it's a major shift, and as I told him, I'm not naive enough to believe that ESPN didn't have anything to do with this to help push women's basketball. But you looked at the competition for best team of the year, and Michigan football was the one that sort of, to me, was the most comparable of the two. They went undefeated in their sport in college football. Then you had Kansas City, you had the Celtics, a couple of other teams like that. 10 years ago, there would have been no shot on this planet that South Carolina's women's basketball team would have been named Team of the Year. I think it shows you how far we've come with regards to just looking whether or not you still like women's basketball or not, but at least the consciousness is there where you can legitimately say that South Carolina's 38-0 season was the best of anybody's out there this year.
Well, it's all subjective. I mean, how do you compare a 15-0, what did Michigan go, 15-0 in football?
15-0, right.
So, I mean, how do you compare that to a women's basketball season or a men's basketball season? Or, I mean, the Boston Celtics get my vote. I mean, they won 60-some-odd games. They only lost, how many postseason games did they lose? 3, 4 maybe postseason games? We can debate this all night long. It's all subjective. I don't know who does the picking for ESPN. ESPN likes to they like to push the agenda that they have in a lot of different ways. And, maybe they felt a women's basketball team receiving the honor over a male team, an NFL team or a football team or the Boston Celtics was the way to go from their standpoint this time around. I don't know how you make that decision. But still, all that being said, it was a great night for the USC women. I thought Dawn Staley's speech was epic. And I thought her comments about the salary, that comment was eye-opening to say the least. So anyway, I thought we would mention that. We're going to hear from the Gamecocks as we move through the program, and I know we want to get to your phone calls as well. The phone number, 888-898-2525. That is the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. And we'll
I have
go
one
over
other thing I wanted to recap
from
today.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, and do you buy what Greg Sankey said that the SEC is comfortable now at 16, and they can have 16 teams and be comfortable for many years to come. Obviously, on the heels of Clemson and Florida State trying to dig their way out of the ACC, and the logical spot would be for them to land into the SEC. And it sounds like Greg Sankey, at least publicly, is saying, we're not interested in them right now. Do you buy that?
Yeah, I do. When they brought in Oklahoma and Texas, that was never even discussed before it happened. So if they're going to bring in anybody else, it will happen, and you won't know it. It's happening.
Sure.
That's just the way he operates, the way he's able to operate. So I don't think that that's going to happen with Clemson and Florida State. I don't think, and I'm not claiming to know anything, but just following along the reporting and what's happening in the trial cases, the court cases, the 3 or 4 that are going on, I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon, unless they just decide to say, screw it, we're going to pay the exit fee, you keep your money, and wherever they are promised to go, that league's going to make it up in revenue to them to make it worth their while. Now, is there a league out there willing to do that? Obviously, the SEC isn't right now. The Big Ten apparently isn't right now. And that only leaves the Big 12, unless you want to count the Pac-2, and maybe the Pac-2 decides they want to, hey, let's affiliate with these big-name schools, improve our TV package, schedule other schools outside of our mini-league, and have more money to share among these 4 teams or any more teams they happen to bring in. I mean, I know that's kind of a wild card. I guess everybody's kind of pointing towards the Big 12 as being the possible landing spot. Interesting reading the story by John Blau, the Post and Courier, focusing on the word "is" in the contract. Did you read that story? Clemson's argument. Okay, so Clemson's argument about the grant of rights in the way that is written, that contract is written, it uses the word "is," as in schools that are in the league playing those games, that money belongs to the ACC as long as they're in the ACC. The word is the word that's used in the contract. And the ACC is arguing that means even if you're not in the league, their argument is they get your money if you leave the league and go to another league, they still get your money through 36. And Clemson's arguing that the word "is" means you have to be in the ACC to get our money. If we leave the league, then the word is not an operable word, and thus they aren't held to that in that contract because "is" doesn't apply to them if they're not in the league. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
And boy, it would take a legal scholar to roll through all that contract and find a 2-letter word that may mean as much as "is." So "was" is not a problem, but "is" the problem.
Yeah. I mean, we can look back at a former president. Didn't he? What was the word he focused on back when he was being prosecuted? Clinton. There was a word. Oh, yeah. When he was testifying, I think it was the word "is" as well. Didn't he say it depends on what the meaning of the word, the definition of is? I think we got the same. I think we got the same kind of situation going on here.
They're all alike.
Well, they make a ton of money. That's why they're making $1,000 an hour. I want to mention that we're at the Omni Hotel here in downtown Dallas, and what a great setup the SEC has. They've taken over the 3rd floor of this hotel. They've got everything on one floor. So it's really convenient. You've got your Radio Row area that is jam-packed with radio shows, more than I think I've ever seen. They say they've credentialed 1,200 media for this. So obviously with Texas and Oklahoma, you're bringing in a bunch of new markets with a bunch of new reporter types being here. You've got your electronic media room where we set up. You have your main media room, which I think you could put 2 football fields in their ballroom. That's the main media room.
Wow.
I mean, I walked in just to listen to Shane Beamer and sat in the back, and I needed binoculars to see him. That's how far away he was. I mean, he looked like a a gnat. He was so far away from me. It was
Crazy.
I mean, it's a huge, huge room, but this is nicely done, and it's working out well. So, didn't know what it was going to be like being here. They did announce that it'll be back in Atlanta next year at the College Football Hall of Fame. So back in the true Southeast next year for Media Days, which will make us all happy. I mean, this is a fun trip, but boy, everywhere you go, you got to pay a heavy price for parking. There's no cheap parking around this place. Of course, now we're both kind of Texans since I'm here, and you used to live in Texas, so you kind of know all about that.
Yes, but I lived in Houston. I did not live in Dallas. If I ever moved back to back to Texas, Dallas would be one of the spots I'd like to move. Austin would be another one. San Antonio, not Houston. But Dallas is a neat city. The times I've traveled out there, though, with Coastal, it's always been towards Arlington. Never really gotten a chance to get into the meat of Dallas. So I've never had a chance really to get into downtown Dallas because I've long been a fan of John F. Kennedy history, and I've always wanted to go to Dealey Plaza and go through the book depository and all the museum there and the whole 9 yards. So I've never gotten to do that. So a little envious that you're there because my assumption is the Omni is pretty close to all that area downtown, right?
Well, when I was here 2 years ago for women's basketball, I went over to Dealey. It's pronounced Dealey Plaza.
I think it is Dealey Plaza, yes.
Yeah. So I walked all through there, walked on the street where the motorcade rode by. On the street, they have 2 X's on the street. The two spots where Kennedy was shot, those are marked by X's on the road. Yeah, it's pretty eerie.
Gee.
Yeah, that's pretty eerie. You see the book depository building is right there, and they've got all kind of stuff there. I mean, it's I hate to say it, it's kind of a tourist attraction. It's one of the big historical points in the United States. So, yeah, I've seen that before. But yeah, Dallas is it's a beautiful city. I mean, it's a huge city, but it's not an overpowering city. It's kind of a big cow town, Fort Worth and Dallas and these Texas cities, raised on cattle and farming, and of course you got huge financial institutions here and huge corporations here as well. Don't get me wrong, it's big, it's plenty big, but it's not New York like. You compare everything to New York, like you go to Chicago, and Chicago doesn't overwhelm you despite being as big as it is. It's not like New York and L.A., I guess, from the traffic standpoint. I mean, there's points in Chicago where the traffic's really bad, and there's points out here where the traffic's really bad. But I drove around through downtown just getting familiar with the place when I got here yesterday, and it's not a bad drive around at all. All right, we're going to hit the break, and when we come back, we'll take some phone calls. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. We'll hear from Shane Beamer. Got Shane Beamer we heard from him 3 different ways today. The South Carolina media met with him. Then he did the main room, and then he did the electronic room. We'll bring you the session with us because we know more about what we're talking about than anybody else does.
Boy, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
Considering some of the questions he got in the electronic room. Oh, my gosh.
Tell me about your days in Oklahoma.
Exactly.
And maybe a little Debo Williams and some Alex Huntley and maybe some others. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Well, we're not cooling down too much this evening. 77. Tomorrow, more clouds and sunshine. 30% chance of an afternoon rain to go with a high temperature of 99. The heat index, again, 108. Rain chances higher the second half of the work week, but we do cool down some. By Friday, the high is in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Ohio U.S. Senator J.D. Vance is Donald Trump's pick for vice president in the 2024 presidential election. Vance, a 39-year-old Republican, is now in his first term in the Senate. He made a name for himself with the memoir, the bestseller Hillbilly Elegy, which was published in 2016 as Trump was first running for president. Electricity will likely be out for another week for hundreds of thousands of people in the Houston area after Hurricane Beryl tore down trees and power lines. In nearby Galveston, the enduring outages are disrupting peak tourist season, but restaurants and locals are buckling down, vowing to reopen soon and finding ways to beat the heat. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 210 points, the Nasdaq rose 74. Details at srnnews.com.
Some people would tell you the world's on fire right now. Well, this isn't a political message. It's a message in support of Ken and his team at Broker Solar in downtown Columbia. I love what they're doing. This is meant to remind you about something. You can't pick your power company. It's not like swapping cell phone companies every time they ask for another rate increase. You know what, though? You can take control of your power bill. You can either pay the man or be the man. You can own your own energy. You need to reach out to Broker Solar. In famously hot Columbia, when it's 100 degrees in the shade, you won't lose power when the grid can't handle the heat. You'll have stored energy and solar-powered battery. During peak hours, when the power company's cleaning up, you'll run off your solar panels and you'll get the last laugh. Hey, solar's not for everyone. It's a serious financial commitment with serious financial benefits. My suggestion is you reach out to Broker Solar and the guys and let them answer your questions. Online, it's brokersolar.com, or give Ken a call at 807-7417. That's 807-7417 for Broker Solar.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee-Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Excuse me, would you like some expert advice on how to reduce your energy usage and save money?
Absolutely.
Did you know that Dominion Energy offers its residential electric customers a free home energy checkup?
Really? What's included?
A customized energy report and free installation of saving products for eligible customers.
Does it take long?
An hour or two at most.
So, how do I sign up?
Go to DominionEnergySC.com and click Save Energy.
DominionEnergySC.com. Here I come. Thanks for the tip.
Certain restrictions apply.
As we celebrate 10 fantastic years at Sweet Comfort Services, we're cooling you off with unbeatable deals on all SEER 2 and high-efficiency AC equipment. Hey, Point family, mention this ad and get a thorough spring maintenance check from our expert non-commissioned techs for just $95 for your first system and a chill $45 each additional system. Look us up at HVAC.com or call us at 331-8143. Celebrating a decade of keeping you cool and comfy. That's the Sweet Comfort promise.
It's time to remodel. Actually, it's been time to remodel, but you still haven't started. Well, there's no better time than right now. I'm Eddie Springer of Trey Cow Builders, and we really do make remodeling your kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, or whole house easy. At Trey Cow, we'll help you every step of the way. We do first-class work quickly, cleanly, and affordably. Call 360-8211, 360-8211 at TRECAL Trey Cow Builders, quality from start to finish.
All right, we're back on Sports Talk, Sports Talk Media Network, from here at the Omni Hotel in downtown Dallas. We have Chris Bergen at the Sardis Marriott in downtown Sardis. Is there a Marriott in Sardis?
Actually, it's a little empty right now. It'll be filling up in late August when we get ready for race time. You know,
oh, yeah.
Busy place around race weekend, Labor Day weekend.
And those hotel prices will be similar to what they have here in Dallas for that.
Yes, we can raise them. We can raise the rate $100, $200 a night at that point.
Josh Cohen at our studios in downtown Columbia, making sure everything runs smoothly. To your phone calls in a second. Just came back from a couple of glorious weeks down the Grand Strand. Would remind you that summer is still here. And if you didn't realize that, just step outside. If you want to get down to the beach to enjoy yourself, You want to give Jimmy Smith a call at James Smith Real Estate, 843-237-4246 is the number. Online at pauliesvacationrentals.com. Your perfect beach getaway is awaiting you, and all you got to do is make that call. Let Jimmy and the staff find exactly what it is you're looking for along the coast. 843-237-4246, pauliesvacationrentals.com. Got a chance to see Jimmy while I was down there. He's doing well. Place looks great. Saw a lot of sold signs on his board there inside his office. So they're getting it done. 843-237-4246, the number. Okay, to your phone calls. And just to save time, everybody, you don't have to say how much you missed me while I was gone for 2 weeks. Let's fast forward past that. Let's just get right to the meat of things. Is that okay, Chris?
I will say the Yankees are probably glad you're back. I don't think they won a series while you were on vacation, so I'm sure the Yankees are going to be excited to have you back after the All-Star break.
No, we just beat the Orioles 2 out of 3 and gave them a game yesterday. I mean, just put it on a platter and said, here, Baltimore, we don't want this leading 5-3 going to the bottom of the ninth. You take it. Here's the game. Let me hand it to you.
I'd be getting worried a little bit about your boys. I know it's a long season.
Well, yeah.
They have not played well the last month.
No. They're starting to come out of it a little bit, but the bottom of the ninth yesterday was a massive disappointment. I mean, you've got 2 outs, a runner on first, ground ball to your shortstop, your Gold Glove shortstop to end the game. He bobbles it. And now you got first and second, 2 outs with your all-star closer on the mound. And I think they were up 1 at that point because a run scored on that ground ball. Still up 1, 2 outs, first and second. Fly ball to left, Gold Glove left fielder Verdugo, for whatever reason, he runs in on the ball, and the ball goes over his head for a game-winning 2-run, whatever it turned out to be. It was pathetic.
Now, one thing positive, though, the Yankees have the most road wins in Major League Baseball right now, so you figure the schedule is going to be a lot easier for them, or at least a lot more home feel the back half of the season.
Yeah, they also have
wins on the road.
They also have, I saw a disturbing stat for a Yankee fan. They also have, the most one-run losses or the most losses after leading in the ninth inning. They've blown like 4 or 5 games that way. So, okay, let's go to the phone calls. 888-898-2525. We go to Gamecock Larry. First up on Sports Talk tonight. Gamecock Larry, how are you? Welcome in. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
We all hear that.
That's not what I think it is.
It is. It is.
That cannot be what I think it is. What other show, ladies and gentlemen, can bring you a caller who is sound asleep? You don't find that anywhere. Let's just play that for the next 20 minutes. At least he's not snoring. Hello?
Hello?
Larry?
Yes, sir.
We wake you up?
No, I'm awake. I've been listening to Bill. I feel.
He's here. Go ahead.
Hey, Bill, did you hear anything about the Georgia football players lately? I understand about 4 more. Well, 2 more got charged for something else. But I'm telling you, 23 charges, 3 passed away, and no punishment. Old Kirby Smart paid out 5-star linebacker, paid him about $1 million more than we could give him, and he jumped ship. But that's okay. Beamer gonna go 12-0. 12-0. Talk to you later, Mr. Phil. Glad to have you back. But Smitty and
Chris,
they kept it going, and they had the good guy back there, Josh. If it wasn't for Josh, they couldn't have made it.
No, they couldn't have.
Tell you what,
that's for sure.
Well, I don't know how they got by without you, though, Phil.
Oh, they managed.
They did. Yes, sir. They had no Gamecock Larry on line about every day.
Well, that makes the show right there. That makes the show.
17 days, 17 days. The good Lord willing, the big 9-0. Gamecock Larry
I
on
thought
the
we
go.
already did that. I thought we already celebrated your birthday.
No. They just celebrated that they wanted to do an early night get together. Some friends of mine, Clark here, they wanted to have it early, so they just got out there. But I tell you what, I done told my daughter, there ain't gonna be no party on August the 1st. I said, I ain't getting out in this hot sun.
No.
I ain't getting out. I was staying in my recliner. I got a good report from the doctor. They just told me, stay inside. So I'm going to stay inside. But that's about all I got to say. Just 23 charges. 3 and no punishment. Curtis Moore said, I'm not a babysitter. I'm a football coach. But, and tell Tiger Bryan, I've been listening for him. He called in lately.
Oh, he's
Tiger
coming up
Bryan,
next.
my friend.
He's coming up next.
Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gamecock Larry. Yeah, we got Georgia.
Tomorrow, right?
We got Georgia
tomorrow.
This will be a repeat. You know, he had the same situation last year.
Yep.
He had those arrests. He had those driving incidents. They had the big story from the AJC, and apparently there was some not plagiarism. There was some falsehoods in that story. Remember the writer
They claim
eventually
there
got
were
fired.
falsehoods. I'm beginning to wonder if everything in that story wasn't true, considering what we've seen.
They fired the writer. You know, they fired the writer. They put out a retraction to some degree. They changed some of the wording in the story and all that kind of stuff. So that was the big item last year, and this will be a big item again this time around because I don't know how many times does it have to happen before you consider that there's a problem with a particular situation. I'd say this is a problem, wouldn't you?
It absolutely is a problem. It's been a problem for a year and a half now. But the greater problem, pardon the double words there, but the greater problem is the only thing that it appears the football program sees is they keep winning on Saturdays.
Yeah.
I don't care what the guys do Monday through Friday. They show up and play on Saturdays.
And you know what? I'm not blaming NIL. I mean, talking to Luke Doty today, he talked about how NIL was such a good thing. And, the way he's used NIL, not so much to make a bunch of money, but he connects with local businesses in Columbia and his hometown of Myrtle Beach and sort of reps them because they like him and they like what he represents, and whatever it is that he's getting in return, he gets. But what's happened, of course, a lot with NIL, as we have seen, is you put some really high-powered, very fast vehicles in the hands of these athletes. Some of them don't know how to properly use them. All of a sudden, they all think they're Richard Petty out there.
Yeah. And all they are is a hazard to the Athens community.
Let's go to Tiger Bryan. Tiger Bryan, next up here on Sports Talk. Welcome in, Tiger Bryan.
How y'all doing, buddy? Hey,
doing great.
I'm going to tell you, them guys done an excellent job while you was gone.
Well, thank you.
I miss you now. I ain't going to lie.
No, it's...
you got that connection for a long time. You know what I mean?
Sports Talk is about the show. It's not about the individual. It's about the show. If I'm not here, Chris picks it up. If he's not here, I pick it up. If we're not here, Smitty picks it up. If the three of us aren't here, Josh picks it up. If the four of us aren't here, Pat picks it up. After that, we're on vacation. We're all for good.
Well, I'm on vacation every day.
There you go.
I got a call. I got to shout out to my little rookie team here in Langston that won the championship. They going for World Series. Langston rookies down at Warshore. Got this Saturday. Next Saturday, we had a benefit, making up money for them at the Highway 55 last Wednesday. We're going to be there again this Wednesday. One of my best friends, his grandbaby's playing on that team. And I got another grandbaby buddy got to shout out. Remember this name, Connor Blankenship. He's the 8th grader. He's JV soccer team last year. He's awesome. He went to Clemson camp this weekend, and they really like him. I mean, he's like 14 years old, but he's a Connor Blankenship. Remember that name? He'll be playing for my Tigers one day, I bet you. But anyways, let me tell you about them. Let me tell Gamecock Larry, 17 days, I can't sing. I can't hold a note beside the barn. But if I'm living, I'll sing it online to you. Happy birthday to him. Yeah, I promise you.
That'd be an awesome thing. That'd be an awesome thing to hear.
Because I'm 61. If I can make it 90 and still call in like he does,
yeah,
my wife would be, she'd be ecstatic. You know?
I got a feeling at 90, you and your wife will still be very active people.
Yeah. Well,
Huh?
It's too hot to fish, but
yeah.
Well, we got
it's 100 here in Dallas. It was 100, and I think the heat index was like 106.
Yeah.
Today here in Dallas.
Heat index in Lancaster like 100. Yeah. But
of course, inside where I'm at, it's about 72. It's pretty chilly inside this hotel. They got it. They got it cooled off.
I got 62 in my camper and 68 and a half. I don't do heat, but I was going to tell you about everybody's talking about these Georgia kids getting in trouble, whatever. Look, like Clemson. I'm Clemson. I love them. We don't hear half what them kids get in trouble for, so where it's at. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't. You would think Georgia would be extremely sensitive to this particular issue because they've had a tragedy. They've had a tragedy of the same, same type of issue, and whatever message through to them, and it's just another tragedy waiting to happen. Then again, look, Clemson had the same situation with two football players racing, and it was a tragedy because they hit a woman. One of them hit a female postal worker and severely injured her. Did not kill her, but severely injured her. To me, that's a tragedy in and of itself. Yet it only rose to the level of a misdemeanor, and thus
all of them won't be accountable for it. I don't care where you go. You can't go up there and just be wild as a buck. You know what I mean? I don't care where you go to school, Clemson, Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, whatever. But these coaches, it's all about winning.
I don't know what goes on inside the programs, and we got to run, Tiger Brian. Thank you, man. I don't know what goes on inside the programs, Chris. They might have these guys running stadium steps, doing up, downs, doing all kind of stuff. But the bottom line is the most severe punishment to an athlete is to take his games away, to sit him down.
It's NIL money now.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you can do that.
You can start finding these kids, actually.
Even in the Clemson case, those guys weren't kicked off the team. And I think it appears to me they looked at the fact it was only a misdemeanor. They didn't look at the actual accident itself and make a decision. Back in a moment.
Relax this summer with a promotional rate on select travel purchases with your Founders Federal Credit Union credit card. Now through August 31st, get 0.99 APR for 6 months on qualifying purchases, including airfare, hotels, restaurants, and cruise lines. Don't let interest rates slow you down this summer. Visit foundersfcu.com/travel to learn more. Not a Founders member yet? Founders has the financial tools you need and the personalized service you deserve. Stop by an office or visit foundersfcu.com to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. On March 1st, 2025, the promotional APR will revert to the effective APR as previously disclosed. Call 800-845-1644 for details about credit costs and terms. Membership qualification required.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years.
I don't charge 40% for your injury in your rec case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. Jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
Stay tuned. Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network. There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
You've put in the work, education, the extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
All right, back in Dallas, just down the road from us, Arlington, Major League Baseball All-Star Week. They had the draft continuing today. Of course, the game coming up tomorrow, Home Run Derby tonight. Just to catch you up on the draft. No. By the time I finish up here, I mean, Arlington is probably a good hour from here.
Oh, yeah, you're a long way away.
About 45 minutes.
Yeah, you've got a ways to get out there.
I mean, I'm in downtown Big D. So the draft looks like this to this point. Might be missing one or two, but I think we got most of them. P.J. Morlando, USC signee, the outfielder. First round, 16th pick to the Marlins. Cole Messina, Cole Mathis, first baseman of College of Charleston. Second round to the Cubs, 54th pick. Then Cole Messina, USC catcher. Third round, 77th pick to the Rockies. Chase Harlan, Clemson signee, third baseman. Third round, 98th pick to the Dodgers. Right-hander Daniel Egan from Presbyterian, third round, 102nd pick to the Diamondbacks. Clemson third baseman Blake Wright, fourth round, 106th pick to the Rockies. Clemson righty Austin Gordon, fourth round, 110 of the picks to the Angels. Sam Antonassi, infielder, Coastal, fifth round, 140th pick to the White Sox. Will Taylor, Clemson outfielder, fifth round, 145th pick to the Pirates. Clemson left-hander Tristan Smith, fifth round, 150th pick to the Reds. Coastal Carolina catcher and infielder Derek Bender, sixth round, 188th pick to the Twins. I think they list him as a catcher. USC right-hander Eli Jones, seventh round, 218th pick to the Twins. USC right-hander Garrett Gainey, ninth round, 276th pick to the Rays. Also, I don't have it on my list, but one of the South Carolina signees or commitments was drafted, not expected to make it to school, and that would be, you got to look him up here on my list, Brandon Clark, left-handed pitcher. And I don't recall when he was drafted. I do recall he was drafted. So that's another one from a South Carolina standpoint that was selected. And I think there's another Presbyterian player selected. I'll look it up I just saw various picks being announced while I was doing my work from here, so I couldn't get them all down on paper as they were coming out, so I'll have to look that up. In the meantime, our poll question of the week. Our poll question of the week has to do with SEC Media Days, and of course the end of the week poll that the ranking, the preseason ranking by the media. 317 votes are in. The question is, where do you expect the Gamecocks to fall in the media ranking? 16 teams this time around. 317 votes. 53.3% predict the Gamecocks will be placed between 12 and 16. 36%.
Including the head coach.
36% between 8 and 11. 7.9% between 4 and 7. And 2.8% have the Gamecocks finishing between 1 and 3 in that ranking. So those are some optimistic sorts there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go back to the phones, 888-898-2525. We go to Ron in Greenville. Next with us here on Sports Talk. Hello, Ron.
Hey, Bill, is you back from vacation?
Back. I'm back. Not going anywhere ever again.
I tell you what, Don Staley, if I was Ray Tanner, when she got back into town, I'd have her in the office, and I'd say, ma'am, thank you for what you done for the school, but get out of here. You're fired.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine the size of the riot in downtown Columbia if that were to happen?
Yeah, Ray wouldn't be able to go home either.
Probably burn it down. But let me ask you something. One time, there was a women's basketball coach down there that they said was gay. Is that right?
Well, it's Pam Parsons. Yes.
Yeah, she went to work at Waffle House in Atlanta.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. I just wondered. So I guess that's been 20 years ago, but, they wouldn't put up with it back then.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just that. It was the fact that allegedly she was having a relationship with a player, and then there were some other things going on in the background. There were a number of serious things, and the fact that let's see, she ended up. I think she ended up
affair with
suing.
the player is going to get virtually everybody fired.
Yeah, but she ended up suing Sports Illustrated, and I think obviously she lost, right? I think everything that they wrote was proven to be, because they wrote a big cover story about her.
Yeah.
And all these allegations. I think she sued him and lost, I believe. So, but yeah. In fact, I was there the night, believe it or not, and we're going to let you go, Ron. Jim C., the late Jim C. and I, South Carolina played, I believe it was NC State at the Carolina Coliseum. Big women's game at that time. And we're standing outside the women's locker room waiting to do some post-game interviews, okay, like you normally would, Chris. And you're standing out there, 10 minutes after the game, 15. That became 45 minutes, an hour. We're standing there over 2 hours. And we're like, what's going on? And little by little, people started coming out of the locker room, and they were crying. And this was the first inkling that there was something going on internally in that program, and it went on from there. And I was there to see it all happen. Can you believe that? Be back after the break.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Peter reporting. Donald Trump has selected Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio to be his running mate. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Waiting until the first day of the Republican National Convention here in Wisconsin, the former announced Vance as his vice presidential pick. He's a 39-year-old lawmaker who's relatively new to national politics. A one-time Trump critic, Vance is now a staunch champion of the Make America Great Again agenda. Trump said Vance will be strongly focused on workers and farmers, especially in the all-important state Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Greg Clugston, Milwaukee.
Donald Trump was also nominated as the 2024 Republican presidential candidate by the convention. At the RNC in Milwaukee today, House Speaker Mike Johnson tells Week on the Hill host Tony Perkins that Donald Trump's acceptance speech will strike exactly the right tone.
Look, we need to understand that our fellow Americans, we're all part of the same country. We're all brothers and sisters in that regard. I mean, if you look at it biblically, as you and I do, I mean, you're supposed to love your enemies, right? Much less your fellow countrymen. You love your neighbor as yourself, as we're admonished in the scripture to do. If you do that, it solves a lot of problems. You just kind of follow that worldview, and it dictates your behavior and how you treat others.
Speaker Johnson adds that Republicans won't abandon their core principles, but that all congressional leaders in both parties should a more civil tone in the days ahead. Electricity will likely be out another week for hundreds of thousands of people in the Houston area after Hurricane Beryl tore down trees and power lines. In nearby Galveston, the enduring outages are disrupting a peak tourist season, but restaurants and locals are buckling down, vowing to reopen soon and finding ways to beat the heat. On Wall Street, the Dow by 210 points. More at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. Amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976. High five.
Joint naval drills are taking place between Russia and China. Correspondent Karen Chamas reports.
The exercise comes just days after NATO accused China of enabling the war in Ukraine because of its support for Russia. The Chinese ministry said in a brief statement that the operation had nothing to do with international and regional situations and didn't target any third party. The joint drills, which began in Guangdong province, are expected to last until mid-July. China's state TV said the drills are aimed at demonstrating the capabilities of the navies in addressing security threats and preserving peace and stability globally and regionally. I'm Karen Chamas.
A French soldier has been stabbed outside a big train station in Paris. The attacker was arrested. Paris is under a high security alert 11 days before the opening ceremony of the 2024 Olympics. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Well, we're not cooling down too much this evening. The low dips to 77. Tomorrow, more clouds and sunshine. 30% chance of an afternoon rain to go with a high temperature of 99. The heat index, again, 108. Rain chances higher the second half of the work week, but we do cool down some. By Friday, the high is in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. 888-898-2225. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk Media Network at SEC Media Days of 2024. Tomorrow, back here. Tomorrow night's going to be a jam-packed night because we have 4 more coaches coming through here tomorrow. We've got Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Missouri all together. Those are 4 big swingers there. And Dabo Swinney is meeting with the media at Clemson tomorrow. Smitty will be there for that, assistant coaches and Dabo Swinney. So we'll have that for you tomorrow night. And then more coverage from Dallas Wednesday, Thursday, back home on Friday. Then to Charlotte on Monday we'll go. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Clemson is in Charlotte on Thursday. Also Thursday, we have the Shane Beamer media golf outing in Columbia, after which he'll have another press conference. And also next week, on Tuesday of next week, it's the annual Coaches for Charity event this year in Charleston, where we'll have a bunch of coaches together under the same roof. No Shane Beamer for that one, but Dabo Swinney will be there, and several other coaches from around the state. I believe Smitty will be there as well. So doing our best to have
next week.
That's
Coastal
for
Carolina
the
has Sunbelt.
the Sunbelt
Media Day.
Sunbelt
New
next
Orleans
week.
next week.
And you're going.
Yes, I'll be there this time. Yep.
How about that? Well, then we're going to have all that covered for you. That's what Sports Talk does. That's what we live for. That's why we do it. And we'll have all that covered for you here on the program. I'm going to hear from Shane Beamer in just a moment here on Sports Talk. And let's see, were there any other major items besides the recruiting, the commitment, the baseball draft, the things happening here? Anything else big going on today that caught your eye?
No, mostly SEC media stuff. I did want to have a little fun at your expense, though, if you don't mind, since we brought it up last week. I think it's only fair for you to defend yourself this week. Last week's poll question. Typical one that we would normally have at the end of every year. Who was the baseball coach of the year in South Carolina for the 2024 season? Eric Bakich ended up winning with 57% of the vote. I think our listeners got it wrong. Quite frankly, I think J.J. Edwards of Wofford, who finished third in the balloting, probably did the best job of anybody, considering Wofford's got very little baseball tradition, had only gone to the NCAA tournament once prior to him taking over in this year, and they also won a tournament game. I think he should have been the guy. But I have to ask why Kingston was involved. Why did you put Mark Kingston in the mix?
Well, very simply, I looked at the teams that made the postseason, and we had 4 of them. So I felt like all 4 of those teams. I mean, Chad Holbrook could have been in there as well, but they only give you 4 slots for answers.
No, I would have put Holbrook in place of Kingston because Kingston lost his job.
Yeah, but he still made the regional. And I mean, to me, that I had to use some sort of cutoff. I mean, what makes the difference?
I get that. But no, we just thought it was funny that you had a guy who was fired in the mix for Coach of the Year in our state.
Yeah, I get that. And I thought about that when I put it in there. But I just felt, hey, they made the regional. That's sort of the bar, make the regional, make a Super Eagle on. So, but the guy who should have won it ended up winning it, right? Handily?
No, I think J.J. Edwards should have gotten it from Wofford.
Oh, you would have voted for him over
because of the job he did. I mean, Bakich did that, and that's not to diminish the job that Eric Bakich did. But when you talk about resources and the tradition and the whole 9 yards, I mean, Wofford did something this year they had never done before. They won an NCAA tournament game.
Yep.
And probably could have won 2 or 3 had they held on against LSU.
Yeah,
I just think he did for his what he's got to work with versus what Eric Bakich has to work with. I just thought J.J. Edwards did a little bit better job. I can't dispute though with the job that Bakich did though.
Did you vote for him? Did you go into
the
poll?
Actually?
Oh,
I did.
You did vote.
I was one of the 13% pile. Now, Lifetime Achievement Award that would have gone to Gary Gilmore clearly.
Yeah. Let's see. Fresno State coach Jeff Tedford is stepping down due to health reasons. The school announced that today. One of his assistant coaches is going to be taking over.
Is he the same Tedford that used to coach at Cal? That's the same guy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. With that said, let's go to the comments from, we have several different pieces of audio from Shane Beamer today as he was making the rounds, had the big media room, had the electronic media room, but I like to play the one where he meets with the South Carolina media first thing. Well, this time it wasn't upstairs. It was on the same level, but it's in a holding area, and he meets separately with just the South Carolina media who made the trip out to Dallas. And I'll say that not as many from South Carolina are here as we would have if it were in Hoover or in Atlanta, simply because, I guess, of the expense and the travel and all that. But still a fair contingent from the state here. So this was first thing this morning, right after the Gamecocks arrived on their they have a new plane. The university has a new jet plane. It seats about 9, I was told. It's a very comfortable ride, and got the big Block C on the tail of the plane.
That's not how you got out there?
No. I flew Haney Airlines. I flew Haney.
Love?
Mr. Haney flew me out here. So, yeah, anyway, no, my travel was just fine. Had a little bit of, I'll tell this story very quickly. Everybody has their flying stories, right? You know, if you fly enough, something's going to happen. So I'm not important the airline, but I had a middle seat. It was a 3x3. It's a big plane. I had the middle seat. I didn't really want to sit in the middle seat, but I couldn't change because everything was booked. It was a totally booked flight. Well, I'm sitting at the gate, and they call for volunteers to sit on the exit row if you're willing to help out in an emergency. But you get more leg room and space there.
Absolutely.
So I quickly jumped up and got there, and a couple of people peeled away, and they were looking for 3, and I was able to become one of the volunteers, and the lady at the desk changed my ticket over and all this sort of stuff. Time comes to board, and my group, which is typically towards the end, starts going in, and I give the lady my ticket, or do it on my phone, I think. Or no, they gave me a hard copy, and she put it in the machine. It came back. She goes, "This seat's already been taken." I said, "What do you mean?" And we go through the whole story of the changing. So we go back to the other gate agent, and she looks it up in the computer. She goes, "Yeah, I'm sorry. Looks like the computer didn't change it or whatever, and that seat's been taken. So go back to your original seat." I go, "Fine." Now I'm disappointed. Well, I get in the plane, and we're literally about 2 minutes from closing the doors, and I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize. And ordinarily, I wouldn't answer it. But it was an 843 area code. We were flying out of Myrtle Beach, where I was. So I answered it, and it was the gate agent. And she said, "We had a passenger not show up, and it's a window seat if you want it." And I said, "Sure, I'll take that." So it was behind me in the plane. I was already almost out the back door, but there was a few rows behind us. And so I get up to go move to that seat, to that row, and there's somebody sitting in the window seat. But the aisle seat was open. And so now here comes one of the flight attendants saying, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, they called me and said to change to this seat," which I did. She was flustered because that never happens apparently. She said, "They called you from the gate?" I said, "Yeah." And so I just
I've never heard of that either.
Yeah, I was shocked. I really was shocked. So I just sat in the aisle seat and had a put on a movie, watched American Sniper, and before I know it, we were having a boy, I tell you, our pilot, he was in a hurry to get somewhere because he landed so hard, one of the overhead bins flew open. You ever have that happen?
Yes.
Yeah. So he landed pretty hard, I guess you would say. I guess he was coming in a little hot. He had somewhere to get to. All right, that's the story of my...
You have a direct flight from Myrtle Beach?
Direct Myrtle Beach to Dallas.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I couldn't find one of those out to New Orleans next week.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach to Dallas.
Disappointed. Oh, you'll love this. And then we get to Beamer. My flight back on Wednesday of next week goes from New Orleans to New York to Myrtle Beach.
Oh, my gosh.
I'll let you look at a map and figure that one out for me later on. But yeah, I get to go into LaGuardia. I don't think I've ever flown into LaGuardia before. So
what are you flying? Delta?
Delta. Mm-hmm.
Flying Delta? Yeah. Okay. All right. Enough of that. now that we bored everybody to death with our travel stories, let's go to Shane Beamer. They had no trouble traveling, as I said, brand new private jet the university has. Flew them in this morning. A little surprised that they just came in this morning. I thought they might have come in yesterday and stayed the night, but they hopped up on the plane this morning and flew in and flew back. And here he is as he took questions from the South Carolina media first thing this morning.
Shane, kind of the standard off-season, getting ready to start camp. Any injuries, long-term guys that won't be out there for the start of camp?
Not that I'm aware of. We'll get back in as a staff next week and get an update injury-wise. But obviously, at this point, everybody is good, and guys that were limited during spring practice are full speed ahead. Rocket Sanders and those guys have had a great summer from a health standpoint, and expect everybody to be full go once we get going.
Shane, if you had to give a theme to this preseason preparation, what would it be, and what's going to be your top priority going into camp?
Theme-wise, I'd say going all the way back to January would just be the hunger, that this team has. I mean, we've got 3 fantastic leaders here today that have played a lot of football for us here at South Carolina, along with a lot of other leaders. I mean, you think about it, 2 of the guys that we brought to media days last year are still on our team, and Tonka and Kai as well. So we're a older team that's very, very hungry. They've shown that since August. And the theme for us, Rick, is just continue to build on that and embrace that. Got a lot of new faces, obviously, on all 3 phases, coaches and players, and continue to, get acclimated and just get better. But really like this group, like the way they've worked since January. Have had a fantastic summer and eager to get going.
You mentioned these 3 young men being exceptional leaders, the guys who came last year still on the team. Why these 3? Why was it their turn this year?
Last year, going with Boogie, we brought Tonka, and I had a conversation with Boogie that, hey, I'm taking Tonka, but I'm going to take you next year. So I'm a man of my word as well. But in all seriousness, we've got a lot of leadership that's returning. We vote on captains at the end of the season each year. We elect permanent captains, and Boogie Huntley and Debo were voted a permanent captain last year. They had the five highest votes on the team. Luke was not far behind and was very close, to being that as well. So they're leaders for us. And to me, they just embody everything that we want our program to be about. They embody everything, to me, that's right about college athletics. They've had opportunities to finish their playing career or go somewhere else and transfer, and they've invested in South Carolina. Luke and Boogie were here when I got here, and they've stayed, not just for 2021, but 21, 22, 23, and 24. And then Debo was one of the first young men that we brought in to Carolina when I was hired as the head coach when he transferred in from Delaware. So fantastic leaders, fantastic people. All 3 are graduates, of South Carolina, and just everything that's right about athletics, college football, and a testament to what our program's about.
Shane, the NCAA recently passed a rule that analysts can now offer on-field coaching instruction. Are you in favor of that, or maybe kind of like everybody to stay in their lane?
No, absolutely, I am. Every school is going to be different. I think you may have some coaches that just hire an army of analysts, and you've seen that. Some coaches just in the last 2 or 3 months that have left some coordinator jobs at the FCS level to go be an analyst somewhere else, and more power to them. But I think it's great. It's takes kind of the gray area out of who's allowed to do what. We try and do things the right way at our place, David, but not everybody, I don't think, has followed that rule, the way it's supposed to be followed. We don't have to get really big. We're not. And in my mind, it was some of the hires that we have. Mike Shula, for example, was done, regardless of whether that rule had passed. Mike was a guy that we wanted to get in our program, but for him now to be able to actively coach on the field, I was in favor of it. I think every coach I know in the SEC was in favor of it, and something that'll be really, really good for coaches and their development, but also for the players on our team and their development.
You've had in 4 years, you're the most experienced. How much does that help in off season when you're starting kind of so far ahead just with install and terminology? You've got this many guys back.
Yeah, a lot. You saw it a little bit last year with some of the flexibility that we had on defense, being able to do some different things and mix up fronts and mix up personnel groupings. But to be able to bring back, so many key contributors at all 3 levels of the defense. We finished the last couple games last season playing really good defense down the stretch, and we've got to continue to build on that. These guys being in year 4 in this system allows us, 1, to continue to build on that, 2, allows us to be, even more diverse if we want to, and multiple from what we're doing from a defensive standpoint. And I think you see it, at any position or any phase, offense, defense, special teams, not just knowing, what you're doing, but now what everybody's doing around you as well. And these guys are more comfortable, but at the same time, we're not sitting here, complacent either. We're continuing to try and grow and push the envelope and see, how we can be even better from a defensive standpoint.
Shane, where does Dylan Stewart fit into that mix defensively?
Right in the middle of it. He's as advertised. He's a guy that's come in. He's freakishly talented. Obviously, came in January with all of our freshmen except for 3, I guess, that just got here in June or got to Columbia in June. But Dylan came in January and has hit the ground running and showed early on why he was so highly recruited, but also very, has great humility about himself and understands he's at a pretty good position with some pretty good players as well. But he's a guy that we have high hopes for and eager to see him continue to develop and evolve in his first year at Carolina.
How different do you feel like the offense is developing now with obviously a strong leader like Rattler now moving on to the NFL? How different are things going to look, and what's that approach looking like for you guys?
Yeah, it's different in that you're going to have a new quarterback, and he's going to be, starting his first game at South Carolina in his first game. Now, before y'all say what you just said, Lenoris, the competition was ongoing. So whether that's Robbie Ashford or Lenora Sellers, they're going to be starting their first game. Luke Doty has played a lot of quarterback for us and has a great skill set back there. But it's new, but exciting too. And I think one is because of our quarterbacks and their skill set. The pieces that we've added to the run game, Rocket Sanders, Jawarn Howell, Oscar Attaway, bringing back Juju McDowell is a good thing. But the one thing that I feel really good about is the amount of experience that we have on the offensive line. And with the injuries we had last season, we had to play way too many offensive linemen. But the positive that did come out of that is we've got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football on the offensive line. I mean, you talk about Vershawn Lee and Ja'Kai Moore. I mean, Vershawn started at every position on the offensive line last year. Ja'Kai Moore's played a lot of football for us at multiple spots. And then you add, the guys, the freshmen that played last season and whatnot as well. We'll have a solid offensive line, good offensive line, behind those guys that have experience. And when you have a center like Vershawn Lee, that I don't want to say security blanket, but that makes you feel better when you got a center up there helping that new quarterback in game one.
Shane, with those offensive line injuries, did you and Luke Day get together and try to tweak any training, or was there anything that could be done? Was that just a freakish run of bad luck?
No, it was. I think I've talked about it with you guys, met with every player after the season and just kind of talked about what they saw and sat back and listened and evaluated. And then I sat down not just with Luke, but in a room, the whole strength and conditioning staff and the whole training staff, and including me, because it starts with me, and looking at everything, whether it be, how we practice, what we do in the weight room, what we do in the training room, what we do in nutrition. And there were some things in all those areas that we certainly, could be better. I know there was an interview that I think Casey Henry did a couple weeks ago where he talked about some of the changes. It's not like radical, like we're all of a sudden doing different things and doing different lifts in the weight room, but I think our strength and conditioning staff has done a great job of explaining the why, tweaking some things to help our guys even more. And so far so good. The key for us is going to be being healthy, staying healthy, particularly early in the season. We haven't done a good job of that. And if you think about 21 early in the season against Georgia was Sherrod Green. 22 early in the season was Jordan Strawn and Mo Kaba. 23 early in the season was Casey Henry and Nicky Mawari and Mo Kaba. So that's from my standpoint, things that I'm going to do a little bit differently, just from a August preseason practice, kind of how we do things, the structure. Not anything radical, but we got to get off to a better start, this year and stay healthy better early in the season than what we've done.
You changed it to player personnel direction.
Mm-hmm.
What brought that about, and how do you think it's gone so far?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into what brought it about. Wish Taylor Edwards well. Excited about Darren Usher coming in. Somebody that I reached out to some people, a couple weeks before everything kind of went down, if you will. reached out to some people that I trust in the profession, some names, ideas, people that they, had come across, and seemed like every person I talked to, whether it be, player personnel directors across the country or even head coaches across the country that were familiar with Darren and had worked with him, it seemed like his name kept coming up. And then to find out that he was a South Carolina graduate, obviously that really, increases your interest in him. And then talked to him on the phone a few times and was blown away, just with his passion for South Carolina, his passion for Gamecock athletics. From talking to him, he's a guy early on. He was an intern in marketing and used to put towels in the seats of Williams-Brice Stadium before football games when he was a student here. So he's already done a great job, for us. I'm excited about him, and he's passionate about recruiting and passionate about Gamecock athletics. And like I said, talked to a couple head coaches and personnel guys, and they all spoke very highly of him, and I see why.
Rocket Sanders is good for summer workouts and good for fall camp?
Yeah, rocket science is kind of what we've labeled that. I wish I could take credit for that. That was Chip Morton, our associate strength coach, but he is. He's done an amazing job. Credit Rocket, credit our training staff, our strength and conditioning staff, nutrition. Appreciate the administration giving us the resources to have, cutting edge recovery, tactics in place, whatever you want to call it, strength and conditioning, training room, nutrition. But he's done a great job. Was modified early on when he got here, Jordan, and then we've just slowly built that up. He stayed in Columbia the entire month of May. He didn't go anywhere, so I was, I go in the morning in the facility early each morning, and I'm usually in the weight room at 6 a.m., and he was in there every day when I was in there and doing recovery and using the month of May to really get ahead. So when the whole team came back and started workouts in June, he would not be lagging behind, and he's hit the ground running. He's lost a considerable amount of weight and body fat since he got here, so we talk about hunger on the football team. He's a guy that's very hungry. I think people forget how freaking good that guy was in 2022. I'm glad people have, but he's really good and when healthy. And I'm optimistic that we're going to see the best version of Rocket Sanders this upcoming season that the SEC ever has.
Okay. All right, Shane Beamer, everything from Beamer from that session and also the electronic media room session up on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Boy, a healthy Rocket Sanders behind a veteran and improved offensive line, Chris, not to mention the other running backs. I don't think you think about Oscar Attaway. I know he's coming from a smaller program in North Texas, but he has some impressive numbers. They might be able to produce, and a new coach, a new running backs coach, might be able to produce something on the ground because, 3 years under Hardesty, they went backwards with their running game. That's not all on him and the running backs. A lot of that has to do with the offensive line. But, they really haven't produced much of anything on the ground the last couple of years.
And don't underestimate the impact that Sean Elliott may have coming back, too, to run portion of the offense field, because when he was at Georgia State as head coach, they were very good running the football. I get it, Georgia State, not necessarily SEC competition, but still, they were able to carve out yards like they were going out of style, and they did it a lot with their quarterback. And I think you also don't take out of the mix, whether it's Lenore Sellers or Robbie Ashford, what the quarterback dimension may bring to the run game, too. They should be much improved. Assuming the offensive line stays healthy, maybe that's the first thing, not just veteran, but healthy offensive line. They should be much improved in the run game, and that can only help that offense.
Well, and a quarterback who is listening to the players today, they talk about what a runner Sellers happens to be and how elusive he is. He brings that element to their offense. That's another weapon for them. That takes a lot of pressure off your offensive line.
Yep.
If you got a quarterback who's mobile and can avoid the sack, and you don't have to hold those blocks as long as you normally would. So, yeah, all that adds up to what should be an improved running game, and we're back in a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's to the forecast. Cooling down too much this evening, the low dips to 77. Tomorrow, more clouds and sunshine. 30% chance of an afternoon rain to go with a high temperature of 99. The heat index, again, 108. Rain chances higher the second half of the work week, but we do cool down some. By Friday, the high is in the upper 80s. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1930, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Ohio U.S. Senator J.D. Vance is Donald Trump's pick for vice president in the 2024 presidential election. Vance, a 39-year-old Republican, is in his first term in the Senate. He made a name for himself with his memoir, the bestseller Hillbilly Elegy, which was published in 2016 as Trump was first running for president. Electricity will likely be out for another week for hundreds of thousands of people in the Houston area after Hurricane Beryl tore down trees and power lines. In nearby Galveston, the enduring outages are disrupting peak tourist season, but restaurants and locals are buckling down, vowing to reopen soon and finding ways to beat the heat. On Wall Street, the Dow 210 points, the Nasdaq rose 74. More details at SRN News.
Summers are so special around the lake. The only thing that can make it more special is finally going ahead and getting your own new boat. There's never been a better time than now. Marine 360 has a great selection of 2024s, but they won't last forever. And here's why. Everything Brandon and Scott have in their inventory is available at or below invoice cost. And not because they're good guys, which they really are. I've known them a long time. And not because there's some gimmicky commercial like some guy hawking used cars. I don't do that. That's simply because the manufacturers rebate folks like Crest and Sea Hunt, well, they've never been better. So you win, but you need to get moving. As the season goes by, the selection will dwindle. So my suggestion, do your homework. Go online. Look at marine360sc.com. Make an appointment. Go see Brandon and Scott at Marine 360 right on Johnson Marino Road. Look at their showroom. Get a demo on the lake itself. This is the best boating value in years. Marine360sc.com or call them 749-2360. That's 749-2360, Marine 360.
Breathe fresh life into your home with Lake Murray Soft Wash. Our team specializes in power washing, soft washing, and restoration. From roof cleaning to wood and concrete washdowns, we've got you covered. For top-notch, affordable services that you can trust, call now. 528-1996 or log on to LakeMurraySoftWash.com to make an appointment. We're not just professionals, we're your neighbors. Whether residential or commercial, Lake Murray Soft Wash sets the standard in cleaning. Embrace the sparkling difference today.
At Palmetto State Armory, we've dedicated ourselves to providing responsible citizens with the freedom to protect themselves and their loved ones. For over a decade, we've been manufacturing quality American-made components and assembling them in Columbia, South Carolina, so that you can purchase them directly from us, either in store or online at PalmettoStateArmory.com. We're committed to offering you the best, most reliable equipment you can count on. We invite you to visit us today and see what makes us different. Palmetto State Armory, American-made for life.
I was thinking about the things that matter to me when it comes to calling the plumber. First, most of us call the plumber out of a need, often a crisis. So you want reliability. Then, we're in a vulnerable place already, so you want someone you can trust, someone who will be fair in their pricing and handle professionally. These are some of the reasons I feel comfortable recommending Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. See, they've been out to my home. They've been out to my brother's home, too. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning did such a great job. And you know, maybe this might not matter as much to some people, but they're locally owned. A lot of these plumbing companies you've heard of used to be local, and now they're owned by big national or even international conglomerates. Working with a locally owned company matters. It keeps your pricing down, and the money stays local here in the community. Josh and his team at Franklin makes customer service their top priority. I trust them. You can too, especially during these times. Online, it's franklinplumbing.sc.com or call them 799-2222. That's 799-2222.
They say I walk just like they say I
talk just like me. And they say these scuffed up boots look as good on me as they did on you. And that bored out Ford you had is running just as good
that play?
as it ever has. I think I broke your record for a smallmouth bass. Some spinner bait second cast.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Boy, show is flying by. Of course, my clock says it's 6:35. What does your clock say?
Well, mine says 7:35, and you are more than welcome to continue talking after Josh and I hit 8 o'clock. You can have your own show, Corn After Dark. Be nice.
Hey, man, 2 hours of us is plenty, I would say.
I would say so.
I think we can all agree. In a moment, we'll have recruiting for you, and we're going to hear from Gamecock linebacker Debo Williams. We go to Bruce in Missouri for our next phone call here on Sports Talk. Oh, by the way, that other Presbyterian player that was drafted, let's give everybody proper credit, Joel Dragoo. What a name.
Oh, yeah.
Love the name.
Good player for them.
Outfielder, 7th round, 222nd pick to the Phillies. All right, so there you go. I think that's everybody from the state that I could find. So let's go to Bruce in Mizzou. Hello, Bruce.
Hey, Phil.
Hey.
Glad to see you back and handling the show like it should be handled.
I'm sure it was handled fine.
Oh, yeah, but you're one of a kind. Anyway,
That's probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing. They didn't want to have anybody else like me.
I was almost going to Dallas as an advertising career. I graduated from Louisiana Tech, and we had a symposium out there, and we visited different of the advertising and printing companies, and it was just all modern stuff, and it's a modern city.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I got the job at Clemson with the photography staff, and so I took it. So we came back home.
Oh.
Anyway, the Clemson situation you're talking about is, if they did not define what is in the contract, that word, and they're saying it is, they would have to be in there, the whole duration of the contract. If they haven't defined it that way in writing, then it is present time, not future time. That's what it means. Present time.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
And Clemson's arguing that if they're not in the league,
right,
then doesn't apply to them.
That's right. It's not present time. They're not in their present time. But they are now, but they won't be if they get out.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just trying to make up their little wording, as what they want it to be, and if they haven't written it out, what it means, well, that word, before they sign the contract, then it's present time, not future time.
Can you imagine the attorney sitting there going over all that stuff, and he's reading all these big words and all this legalese, and all of a sudden he sees the word such and such and is, and he goes, wait a minute,
right.
It says is. That means here and now. But if Clemson goes to another league and makes money off their TV deal in another league, then is doesn't apply to them because they're a was, not an is.
Right. And see, that's the whole point. If they haven't identified what is in the contract meaning, and they're picking it out, then it is present time, not future time, They're trying to make it future time, and they don't have it written out in the contract. It don't mean that. They can change any definition they want to in that contract while the contract is being negotiated, and the parties agree to it. It don't have to be in the dictionary or whatever. I mean, that's what lawyers do best. They attorney. So anyway.
All right.
That's what.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Good hearing from you. Okay. I've always heard that the biggest little word in the dictionary is if.
Mm-hmm.
If.
It maybe is now.
But maybe it is. It is what it is. You saw a tweet that made you chuckle?
I did. Of course, today, if you've not been on social media and you're not a gamer, you have no idea what today is. But for the rest of us, today's the day that EA Sports released its brand new college football game, at least advanced copies. Josh has one coming, but he can't play it until Friday because Josh is smart and he don't want to spend the extra money. But evidently, you can get the advanced copy. And
don't you have to be a certain age to play that thing? Is Josh of age?
Wow.
Maybe that's it.
No.
Maybe Josh is restricted.
No, it's all money. All money.
But BF Knowles tweeted out a little while ago, he said, this game blows regarding the college football game. Said, I started a dynasty with Georgia and have done nothing but bail kids out of Clark County jail for 2 hours.
Oh.
I mean, you want to talk about spot on.
I have seen so much conversation about that stupid game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen, I mean, I guess I don't get it, but I guess it's important to a lot of people. And I guess it means something because it's not been around for like a decade, right, as this thing has gone through the legal system. And I guess to a lot of people, it's important. Okay, I grant you that. But, I mean, I see grown men, media people, who I have a lot of respect for, treat this story, I mean, like it's something major. I mean, you know, dissecting the uniform colors, dissecting the way certain players look, reporting on the way they distinguish how one team runs onto the field compared to another. I mean, just really kind of going overboard in their seriousness toward this. But, I mean, it is a video game, is it not? It's not real.
Now, what I find that
are things that slow this time of year? Well, that's all you got.
Well, what
to
I
write
find
about?
ridiculous is not that complaining about certain things in the game. You know, everybody's going to complain about something, but the folks who get upset about, and I guess players more so than anything else, who get upset about their ratings in the game, that they should be a better player in the game than they actually are. Which I always thought was fascinating and funny.
You got the same, you know, a kid who gets who's upset because he's a so-called 3-star and not a 4-star. You know.
Yes, indeed.
Which is another thing I don't really understand or care to get into. But anyway, it's all part of the business that we've involved ourselves in. It's all part of it. All right, let's do our recruiting report tonight. And I hate to take this away from you, Chris, because I know how much you enjoyed doing it over the last.
I enjoyed it, but I will gladly hand it back over to the professional. You had the amateur version of recruiting last week. I'll be glad to hand it back over to you, though.
I'm sure it was done, with expert attention given to it. Our recruiting report is brought to you by Seawells. Hey, by the way, season and game day parking at Seawells. Now available, looking ahead to Williams-Brice Stadium. And also, they got parking for that soccer match coming up. By the way, something else I want to mention. They got that soccer match coming up at Williams-Brice. What's that, August the 3rd, I think?
Correct.
After what I saw, you know, I didn't watch it, but I saw some of the video of what went on in Miami last night. Did you see that?
I did. I actually watched both matches yesterday. The problem they're not going to have in Columbia, I don't think, is for the most part, you're not dealing with an influx of international fans who don't realize that you have to actually buy a ticket to go to the game. And that was the problem they had last night in Miami. Colombian fans in particular were just trying to storm the field to get in without buying a ticket.
I saw video of fans actually climbing through the air conditioning ducts leading, to the outside of the stadium, climbing up through those ducts to get inside. Can you imagine that?
No.
And then, of course, you have the situation in Charlotte like a week ago where fans were pelting the family of some of the players on one team, and the players went into the stands, and a fracas broke out there.
Yeah, security is going to have to be at a high level, I would think, in Columbia, maybe more so than they have to deal with on a typical Saturday. Because this is a little different. Soccer fans, football fans in 90% of the world, they treat the game a little bit differently. And then, of course, what we just saw happen to former President Donald Trump over the weekend. I mean, the security is going to be on high alert at a lot of places moving forward the next couple of months.
I would think so. I mean, we'd never see that happen in this country, right? Detroit and who was it? The Pistons and the Bulls that got into the. Who was the Pistons and the Pacers? Pistons and the who was it? Back then in about 2004, the Friday before the USC Clemson brawl.
Pacers. You're talking about the Malice at the Palace?
Yeah,
the Pacers.
Pacers and the
because I'd forgotten. Yep.
Yeah, that was the Friday
Pacers
before
and the Pistons.
That was the
Yep,
Friday
right.
before
November
the
19th.
USC. Yeah, Friday before the USC Clemson brawl. And Tommy Bowden said, after that game, he pointed to that fight in the NBA game as a catalyst for the Gamecocks and Tigers having a brawl.
Wow.
He said, well, they were fighting in the NBA last night, so maybe that's where they got the idea from, Not the fact that Savell Newton got, kicked while he was on the ground, I believe. That kind of started it. Of course, they were chippy
that
from
was
the very
embarrassing
beginning.
across the board. Yeah, that was embarrassing across the board.
They were chippy from the start. Anyway, that takes away from Seawells. I want to mention their phone number, 803-771-7385, Seawells Catering at gmail.com. Of course, they'll permit tailgating on their property. And, again, they're going to be parking for the upcoming soccer match at Williams-Brice. So if you're looking for parking, 803-771-7385. And, of course, the daily lunch and buffet. Make sure you jump on that this week. And you got the very best in the catering business from Seawells. Again, their number for that, 803-771-7385. Okay, so South Carolina got a commitment this afternoon from defensive end Donovan Darden. He's 6'4", 216. He comes from Havelock, North Carolina. Same school that sent Pharaoh Cooper and Corey Robinson to play for the Gamecocks a few years ago. Now, he can play linebacker. He could end up being a linebacker, but if he puts on more size, if he grows to be 230, 240, could see him playing on the defensive end on the edge out there because of his speed coming off the edge. And from his visits to South Carolina and the way they've talked to him and the way they've kind of laid things out for him, that convinced him to go to South Carolina. He picked the Gamecocks over NC State, Illinois, and Pitt. So he had 46 tackles last season, 9 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 10 quarterback hurries. He gives the Gamecocks 19 commitments for their 2025 class. If he ends up as a linebacker, then he'd be their 4th linebacker. If he ends up as a defensive end, then he would be their 4th defensive end in the class. All right, a couple of other notes for you here in our recruiting segments. Of course, recruiting is starting to, except for some announcements coming up, recruiting is sort of sliding to the back burner as folks are now getting ready for their upcoming seasons. Rock Hill wide receiver Malik Clark has cut his list to 3, and he plans to make his commitment announcement this month, according to Steve Wiltfong of On3. If you read my note on that on the website early this morning, I miswrote it and wrote, instead of announcing this month, I wrote announcing this morning. That wasn't the case. I just miswrote that. That's not what was reported. I just miswrote it. So it's this month, not today. And his decision's coming down to USC, North Carolina, and Florida State. Considered the top receiving prospect in the state. Made official visits to his 3 finalists, along with NC State. He also visited USC for their spring game in April and a junior day in January. Camden defensive back JoJo Krim was offered by Vanderbilt. That's his first SEC offer. He also has offers from Appalachian State, Liberty, Charlotte, and UCF. And a big week ahead for USC and Clemson as major targets are set to come off the board. The Gamecocks are finalists for center Isaac Souls, who, by the way, tweeted today that he had notified all 3 schools of his decision. And there's been no welcome home sent out by Shane Beamer. So you might read something into that, or maybe there's nothing to that at all. So Souls is one of them, and then offensive tackle Cortez Smith is another Gamecock target who's announcing this week Souls is doing it on the 18th, and Smith on the 20th. And also on the 20th, defensive end Bryce Davis. And Clemson's another finalist. In fact, Clemson is being projected as his choice by some in the recruiting media. And then I saw today where Steve Wiltfong of On3 projected safety Lagonza Hayward, another USC target, to Tennessee. And he's announcing on the 27th. So there you go with recruiting tonight here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawells. Going to hit the break. When we come back, we'll hear from Gamecock linebacker Debo Williams. He's looking forward to a big season after having a big season last year. Could have gone on and tried for the draft, decided to come back to South Carolina because he wants to go out a big-time winner. He didn't want to go out on 5-7. He wants to go out helping the Gamecocks take a major step forward. We'll hear from him after the break. Be right back.
If you're looking to stay hydrated this summer, turn toward a southern favorite, sweet South Carolina watermelons. One slice is equivalent to a glass of water and is just as effective as drinks for hydration. If you don't believe us, you can ask the Palmetto State's top football teams. The SC Watermelon Association will be serving up slices after summer practice to keep our teams fueled and hydrated. Visit scwatermelon.org for all the details and look for ripe South Carolina watermelons in your hometown.
We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, let's say I'm out in the woods or I'm on the water and I need to reach a DNR agent. How do I do that?
Operation Game Thief, Phil. It's been around 30-plus years. You can call us at our 24-hour hotline any day, 1-800-922-5431. To report wildlife violations or to get help if you're in trouble in the woods or on the water, call us at Operation Game Thief, 1-800-922-5431.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
Last throw, big guy.
Come on, baby. I need me a giant bear.
I got this. I am the target. Ben, throw.
Woo! Yeah!
Oh, well, look who won a giant bear. That's a grizzly.
Oh, Mama's baby bear.
When you join Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Yeah, he's had all his shots. Just don't look him in the eye.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosteller-Brown. Did you know it's possible to avoid probate court after you die, regardless of what you own? Why put your loved ones through a long, stressful public process when there are better options for your family? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different, it's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Packs of Brooks and Dunn. If you want a country girl, you just found one. Let's slip away. Yeah, any Chevrolet.
All right, the Gamecocks, one of the four teams to come through here in Dallas. First day of SEC Media Days. 3 Gamecock players were with Shane Beamer, including linebacker Debo Williams. And here's Debo as he talked with the South Carolina media first thing this morning. Let's hear what the experienced, talented linebacker had to say.
What stood out to you about how this team has come together in the offseason?
For some reason, the bonding has just been so much better. And not to say I didn't bond in years before, but the guys are just coming along. We're all on the same mission. Before, you would have guys on the team that just kind of went their own way, but everybody is gravitating together. So I think that's the biggest difference. Like, we all got one love for each other.
Who are some of the newcomers that have really impressed you just in the last few months?
Doesn't matter if it's freshmen or transfers, just anybody new.
Anyone.
gonna speak on my linebacker room first for sure. Ben Galley and D Knight, those guys, they come into work, man, and I really appreciate them. They're gonna help us in that LB room for sure. D line, I definitely like Dylan. He puts in that work. He was balling in the spring. Cornerbacks, I'm gonna have to say Jay Will. He just got here, but I really like him. And we're doing 7-on-7 and stuff. He be getting interceptions and he puts in that work. So for sure.
Reflect on the time that you've had as a Gamecock. Just what type of person does this program build?
You're gonna get in what you put out. If you want to be a successful football player, you're gonna be a successful football player. If you want to come through and have the best grades and become a businessman, you can become that. You're going to become what you want to become, and you're going to be built for success, for sure. So it's all about what you want.
What kind of problems will the Norse present to opposing defenses?
You're going to have to probably put a spy on him the whole game, honestly. You're going to have to watch him, man. He's so shifty, and then he's so accurate too. Like you can put a spy on him, and then he's going to pick you apart in the pass game. You don't put a spy on him, he's going to pick you apart in the run game. He's got so many attributes to him, and I feel like he makes the players around him better.
All right, Debo Williams, some comments from him from today, meeting with the media upstairs here at the Omni Hotel in downtown Dallas. This Gamecock defense, Chris, I see no reason why it shouldn't be a sack of hell. A sack of hell.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got experience. Their transfers all look like they can play. They got some young guys who are coming on. They can't say enough about what to expect from Dylan Stewart. They expect him to be a star. Kyle Kennard, I think, is legit. I think that Gilbert Edmond is legit and will help them a lot. DeAndre Jules will help them a lot. You got Huntley back, Sanders back. You got Tonka Hemingway back. They say Nick Barrett has come a long, long way and is much improved. Brian Thomas, veteran player, give you a lot of good play at one defensive end. Desmond Umeozulu helped him some last year, probably help him again. And then their linebackers, mentioned Debo Williams, Bam Martin-Scott. You heard him talk about Knight. You heard him talk about Bangali Kamara. You got a healthy Mohamed Kaba coming back. Willis has gotten better. And then the secondary. I mean, they are solid at nickel with Gilmore there, and then you got Eman at one safety and Smith at the other. I would say that that one corner, O'Donnell Fortune, at one corner, he's a veteran and getting them some good football over the years. The other corner, I guess, is the big question mark at this particular point. Who's going to fill that spot? So I think this defense looks really, really good going into this preseason camp.
I think he's got a chance to be very, very good. I agree with you. And I hope Debo Williams plays a long, long time in the NFL because if not, Phil, that kid's coming for our jobs. He's a mass communications major at USC. You listen to him speak, he's already got sort of that polished, broadcaster ability because he doesn't use those crutch words that we hear so many athletes use, yes, every time they answer a question. He would pause, think about his answer, and then deliver a great answer. I want him to play a long time in the NFL so I don't have to worry about him coming to take my job here on Sports Talk because he's going to be a star, maybe both in the NFL and then as a broadcaster if that's where he wants to go.
Yeah, he talked about the fact that he was not a good student in high school, and that's why he ended up
doesn't sound Delaware.
Like it. Yeah. Well, he just said I messed around and let my grades slip in high school, and his message to the kids, don't mess around with your grades, get them. Because his goal was to go to Delaware for a year or two and then transfer to a bigger program, which is what he ended up doing when he came to South Carolina. But he wasn't academically in a position to make that move to a big program coming out of high school. All right, that'll do it. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Josh. More from here in Dallas tomorrow night, and, of course, coverage from Clemson as well. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow.